The irony of this podcast is that my clients do call me daddy.
Qu'est-ce que j'appelle te nommer?
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my podcast, Saint to Siren, with Pamela, also known professionally as the Violatrix, and a couple of really fun updates. I have a brand new website, saint2siren.com. As you know, the Violatrix.com was in arguments, ongoing struggles and arguments with Wix, the website hosting platform, because they didn't agree with my content. So I did a full rebrand and moved everything over to Square at Saint to Siren, which is a much more friendly platform for me, and a clean rebrand. You guys still know what my services are, what I offer. You just kind of have to read between the lines, but it's pretty clear. I've broken it down into booking consults for men and booking mentorship appointments for women. And if you have any questions, theviolatrix.com is still up and live. But just reach out to me on socials or admin at saint2siren.com. I want to start out this podcast, episode 9, by saying to you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the 2 Spotify awards that were bestowed upon me so graciously. I am so humbled and truly gracious, because without you, the listeners, the followers, my supporters, my team, my people, my girls, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I wouldn't be able to deliver. There would be no point in delivering this, because everything I'm doing is for my platform, Women Helping Women, to succeed, to win. So it's all of you that are the gears that are turning this machine. And without you, it stops turning. So Spotify bestowed me with Marathon Show Award, which means people, listeners and followers, streamed or downloaded several episodes in one day. And then they bestowed me with Breakout Hit Show of 2025 for the numbers, I guess, that the podcast was doing. So again, a heartfelt thank you. I'm super excited. I'm more motivated than ever to bring you more juicy stories and the data that you need. And I'm super stoked for what we're all going to do together in 2026. And again, thanks to the comments and questions that you are leaving for me under my Spotify podcast, it's directly there. So as I curate these episodes, I'm able to pull from the data, extrapolate exactly what you are looking for, what you need, and hopefully I'm delivering it. So please keep those comments going. And that's what fuels future episodes. So again, a heartfelt thank you so much. One other quick note. I did change my TikTok from Saint to Siren back to @trendingplastics. TikTok is not a platform for adult content, which is the whole reason why I moved all of my content to Spotify and Apple to the podcast. So I had a freedom of speech level medium to deliver you the information that you need without censorship. TikTok was not friendly with it, and my views and my reach have been grossly suppressed, or as people like to say, shadow banned. But it got to the point where I was getting like 3 views, or they weren't even putting it out. They would literally tell me, we're not putting this out on the FYP at all. So I'm back to Trending Plastics. We'll still have our lives over there and conversations and things about plastic surgery, relationships, and everything in between, and findoming as I can. But my primary platforms will now be Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the podcast, and my website, of course. Okay. Last episode, someone had asked me, and I apologize. I want to say it was Creatrix, but I'm not totally sure, had asked me to touch on the dangers of online sex work, the dangers of being an OF, OnlyFans girl, a cam girl, a phone sex operator, and what are the real life IRL in real life dangers, and what are the cyber and internet dangers that lurk in the shadows. And I have a story that I think will drive home exactly what you're looking for and be a very cautionary tale to any of you that are considering doing this work or currently do this work. So this story, we're going to go back to the winter thaw going into the spring of 2020. So during that time period in 2020, my husband's company had gone public on the Hang Seng, not the NASDAQ, not the New York Stock Exchange, but the Chinese stock exchange called the Hang Seng. And we were shifting around money and all these things. And my husband typically likes me to live on plastic on a credit card and then just push the bills through the bank account. And for whatever reason he does this, I have no idea. I couldn't explain to you why, but certain years into marriage, you don't ask the questions. You just do what makes it easiest, the path of least resistance to get along. But in this particular time period, I was needing tips for the gardeners, the lawn mowers, the pooper scooper people, the pool guy, the cleaning people. And I was like, I can't tip them in plastic. I need more cash. And he was busy and he just flipped his head around at me. And this is very uncharacteristic. And he was like, you want more cash? You want more cash? Go back to night flirt. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, you got it, motherfucker. And just to spite him, I did. I hadn't been on night flirt in years. I floated in and out of night flirt since 2008, depending on whether I was pregnant, whether I was nursing, having babies, or at one point I had a miscarriage. So if I was heavy or pregnant, I didn't want to be on cam, and I would take years off because I don't present myself on cam if I'm not the product that I advertise myself to be. And I never wanted to be tagged or known for being like the lactating pregnant woman, which I'm not going to tell you I didn't sell some lactating videos. But the bottom line is I kept everything on brand, and there were several years that I didn't work. So I go back into night flirt, and the irony of this is that what he was saying is like kind of a dick move and a punishment to me, go back on night flirt. My clients were all still in my portal. They were not only there, they were super excited to see me. And I was like, wait, what is this? So not only were they there and excited to see me, but they were ready to spend. They wanted to catch up. They wanted to tell me what they'd been up to. They wanted to hear what I'd been up to. And then I was getting a whole new host of like younger guys. And I was like, what? What I failed to realize is I can't speak to all fetishes and niches, but at least in my particular lane of findom, the clients, the men liked it that I was older, more mature, and more seasoned. They wanted to be dominated by an older woman. So I was like, this just turned everything I thought I knew on its head. This was so upside down for me, but boy, oh boy, was I thrilled to indulge in it. So there they were. They were all sitting in queue. So I go back, and now remember, it is my first and foremost job and responsibility to keep my finger on the pulse of what is happening in the sex industry, not just popular culture, but trends, Pornhub trends, trends in all sex worker industry, whether you're an escort, full service, high level escort, you're kind of like a streetwalker, you're an OnlyFan girl, you're a chatterbait girl, you're cam girl or PSO, cam or face, cam with face or no cam, just phone. It doesn't matter. It is my job and duty to understand what is happening. And at that time, during like January, February of 2020, again, going into March, April, May, FetLife, which has always been the OG of the fetish BDSM community, FetLife has always been the first place people go when they were looking for fetish related kinks, relationships, communities. That was where people went, especially before any of these fetish dating apps were born. So everybody's telling me that they're using FetLife. Everyone is telling me. So I begrudgingly went on to FetLife and created a profile. I had created profiles previously on FetLife, and I was horrified by the messages and the things that I had seen. So I did not enjoy using the site. So I begrudgingly did it because it just kept coming up over and over again with my clients with whom I was reconnecting. So I go on and I create the profile for the Violatrix, and immediately when you're a new girl on that site, the site users just flock to you. It's like, oh, fresh new girl, fresh meat. And they just descend upon you in droves. And that's only when you're just brand new, because they all want to crack at the new girl. So, of course, I'm always looking for a client. I had to make my presence known there. So I'm building my profile. I'm getting blown up with, instant messages. So there's always typically, whenever you go, whether it's on a dating site or wherever you are, whatever platform, and you're known as a dominatrix or a findom, there's always that one daddy, master, dom, bull, some asshole who is like, and they're not always an asshole, but typically they're an asshole. They want to dom the dom. They get off whatever drives them in being a dom, them a daddy dom. It goes right to the core of their being to inflate their ego to be the guy that can dominate the dom and crack her. Because everybody well knows that a dominatrix, a fin dom, she's at the top of the food chain. She's constantly dominating everyone. So when you can infiltrate her and you can manipulate her with words or with texts, and you can crack into that, you can crack that code, you can oftentimes dominate a dom. And oftentimes many of us are submissive in our personal lives, or submissive to bulls, or submissive to alpha daddy doms. So there's always that guy looking for that crack in the foundation for a dom. And one particular guy worked his way into my DMs, and I was really kind of blowing him off. At first, like, I was nice and cordial, and then I was like really kind of blowing him off. And he was persistent, but not completely like crazy persistent. So we end up having a chat over a period of, I want to say it was 3 to 5 days. As a matter of fact, I actually remember where I was in my bedroom and my bathroom, walking around having these conversations with him. Now, when I say conversations, they were strictly through the app. And he was cute, he was flirtatious, but he was definitely dominant. So about 3 days into these little conversations, because again, remember, I am there to talk to the people using the app and keep my finger on the pulse of the industry. What are the trends? What are the sites people are using? And this is the first thing that any of you should do if you've been out of the industry for a while. You don't just dive in, you have to do your due diligence and find out, what are the apps people are using? What are the new buzzwords, trigger words? What are the, like, there's this app Field Feld that I stumbled upon recently, and it's like now it's the granddaddy of all fetish dating sites, at least from what I can see. But there's a word on there called heteroflexible. So a bunch of guys, I always have a presence on a dating app for at least a month or two. It helps with reach and frequency, and also satisfies my curiosity. And I'll upgrade a subscription, change my zip code to Austria, you know, Denmark. I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to Portugal. I'm going to Brazil. I'm going all over the world. Of course, New York City and major cities, but I'm talking to men, seeing what they're using, what apps, and that sort of thing. This is why my knowledge is so vast. And I enjoy it. My intellectual curiosity and also my kink and fetish curiosity surpasses all. I should probably put in a legal disclaimer right now that I'm going to talk about FetLife, and I don't want to get caught up in any sort of legal situation. But this is particularly specific, this story, to FetLife. Okay. So after a few days of talking to this guy, I said, okay, this has been fun, but I'm a dominatrix and I'm here for business. He didn't like that, and he wasn't accepting it. And he wanted to cam, and he wanted to meet in person. And now he was getting very, very pushy with me. And now I was giving pushback, and I was getting rude. He didn't like that at all. So as I'm pushing back harder, he's getting more angry, and you could just see the anger building in him. And when I log in the next day, I see all these messages from him, and he says, I figured out who you are. I know your name. I know where you live. And I was like, why the fuck would you do that? And what are you trying to prove here? Like, I'm not ever meeting you. Whatever. So I foolishly called his bluff and said, I don't believe you. And he ends up sending me screenshots back. Somehow, based on whatever data I had given him, he had, in fact, figured out who I was. And now he was sending me information. And then he says to me, I know you're a mother. I know you have kids. This has never happened to me before. When I tell you, the clients on Night Flirt are the sweetest, kindest. The worst thing that ever happened to me on Night Flirt is you would do really well on a day, a week, or a month, and some other flirt would have her boyfriend troll you, call you for 60 seconds, pay the $3.99 and then just slam you with negative feedback all over your profile to bring your numbers down. That's about the worst thing that ever happened. And that used to happen quite a bit back in the day. I am no victim to this now because my price is so high they wouldn't attempt it, I think. I really don't know. But that was like the worst thing that I ever had happen. Every now and then you get a creepy client who you can tell he's not fully there, and you just kind of either make the call not worth his while or you block him afterwards and then you're done with it. But I never had problems with my clients. So now I've got this guy with my personal information, my address. He's found all sorts of data on me, probably doing one of those Zaba searches or something, or Free People or whatever. But he had the data, he had my address, and he knew that I had children. And he starts threatening me to an extent that was extremely disconcerting. I block him, I report him. He had at this point given me his name. And sure enough, with the steel trap memory that I have, and he made an indelible mark in my memory as far as fear and safety and what a close call, and I should have been more careful. And it was a really good rude awakening as I re-entered this arena, after a long hiatus, after a long period of time. It was a really good slap of reality because we need those every now and then to keep us on the straight and narrow, and that's what happened. And now I'm going to read you something that popped up. I want to say it was probably like Yahoo News or some social media. I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and I did like a double take, and then I zoomed in, and what I read was the following. XX, I'm not going to say the woman's name, a 32-year-old single mother was murdered by XX on August 16th, 2020, after they met on an online dating app. The crime gained significant attention because the perpetrator's attempt to hide the body by burning it was believed to have ignited a massive fire, which eventually turned into a bigger fire. They had met in a public place, and she had been last seen arriving in California on August 16th, 2020, in her car. Her family filed a missing persons report after 2 days, and her abandoned car was found 2 days later, again in California. So when I tell you that it was the guy's name, I couldn't believe it. I, I I couldn't believe it, but then part of me was like, yes, this is exactly what was going through my head when he was saying these things to me. From the fact that I have a very strong memory, the average person wouldn't remember that. I also happen to remember specific dates and time periods and things going on in the world at exact times. So I was able to put this together. I probably stumbled upon this about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. So this is the cautionary tale of why you don't engage with strangers on apps. Why, if you're using dating apps, you download Google Voice number. You never use your last name. You use a burner phone number or a Google Voice number. You use a burner email. The bottom line here is you cannot be too careful. And if you've watched any of my TikToks, which those are still up on online dating safety, or on my YouTube videos, you know that I say you should have a Google Voice number, you should have a burner email address, and those are the things that you use when you're engaging with someone on a dating app. All the communication right up and through until you start dating exclusively and seriously. You should stay in app. Don't let them take you off app. Don't give out your socials. So you can't be careful enough. You cannot be too careful. And the internet has become the Wild West of crimes and crime scenes. And it's just made things so much easier for people to get away with things. And your information and yourself, you're a currency, and people will want it. So you keep all your currency locked away in a safe, and you take appropriate measures, and you cannot be careful enough. And just remember, these dating sites are not vetting background checks. They're not vetting criminal records. So anybody can say that they're anybody on the internet. And a lot of women are still falling for this and will continue to fall for this and become victims to the predators. I've said it before and I will say it again. Dating apps, fetish apps are a breeding ground for predators, because the fastest way to commit a crime on someone, whatever that crime is, whether they want your money, they want to sexually assault you, they want to murder you and take your house, your car, whatever it is, the easiest way to do that is through the heart, through emotions. And dating apps and fetish apps are dealing with lust, emotions, love, people that are hungry, needy, and those are the most easy people to prey upon. And I want you to remember that. As far as other stories, I in one of my earlier episodes of the podcast, I talk about the whole reason why I'm here in front of you now. I had been friends with someone here in Vegas who I was doing my phone calls from his apartment, and he was recording me without my knowledge, and then later tried to extort me. And when the restraining order, I won the case against him. He was arrested. The DA actually filed the case. It wasn't me against him, it was the DA against him. And I did win the case. The restraining order just lifted last month in November. The restraining order was in place 1 year after the court win that found him guilty. And I have not, thank God, heard from him. But here was somebody that I loved and trusted that turned on me. So when I tell you that it's not just the predatory strangers out there lurking, behind the shadows, behind, a desktop computer or behind a phone, oftentimes, just like with, crimes against children, it's always someone that's close to the family who knew how to get to the child and knew the family schedule and that sort of thing. Often when you deal with these situations that we would find dangerous, it's often the people closest to you that are going to compromise your safety. And I've talked about the story with my restraining order and the guy that outed me, and how I'm here in front of you because I decided to control the narrative and begin outing myself little by little before he maybe, gets an offshore server and puts up one of those videos, quote, anonymously, that he recorded. And I'm just waiting for the day for that to happen. But you must be super careful and just remember, it's the people that the women usually, or the men, in this case it was a man, that you tell about your phone sex, OF, cam girl, exploits, experiences, secrets, clients. It's going to be the people closest to you that are going to expose you more often than not. Just remember that. You heard it here first. My whole thing is always helping single moms. And a single mom was like, oh, I can't make ends meet. My husband's not paying me the alimony, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I have a job for you. You should do what I do. I work on the phone. And I taught her everything. I went over to her house. I trained her. She created her own listing. And then at some point, she must have decided it wasn't for her. She turned around, deleted her listing, told all the other moms that I was a dirty sex worker and phone sex, and I was an escort and fuck clients and this, that, and the other. And next thing I know, my daughter wasn't getting invited to any parties, sleepovers, play dates. So you can't be too careful. Just don't tell anyone. I'm at a place in my career where I make it my business to tell people, because again, that was a part of the narrative of me taking back my power from the person who was trying to steal it. So that is the extent of my stalking situation, my obviously very worst situation that I ever had. And there's other little things, like, for example, when I had gone back into night flirt and began connecting with some of my clients, many of them had actually saved my old videos, and I don't mean just save them, like chronicled them and were using them. I used to make these epic videos in the 2000s. I put a lot of work into them, and one guy sent me the videos. I could have died in that Y2K frosty lipstick, no eyebrows, my big nose kind of aesthetic. I was so horrified. One of them, I had like stilettos and a cowboy hat on. I was like, yippee ki Oh my god, it was such a mess. But anyway, not only was I horrified, I was like, oh my god, I didn't expect my stuff to live on. But the other thing that's important is thousands, tens of thousands of clients over 20 years, and not one of my clients had ever leaked my shit to the internet. Not one of them. There are photos that some guys had put on, like screenshots and things, some guys had put on some like Reddit, subreddit forums, maybe. And if you like, I will tell you where to find those. If you want to see old frosty lipstick, big nose, no eyebrow me, here you go. Guys, I swear to you, I wasn't trying to catfish you, but I just went to get you the link of all of these old pictures of me someone had posted. I found them not more than 4 or 5 months ago, even sent them to my kids, and now I cannot find them. So if you're up for the challenge, here's what you can Google to find my old pics. God forbid. My old name on Night Flirt was Adriana. That was my very first name, Adriannaa. That was my first name. And then later it was the Violatrix. At different points on Night Flirt, we were all changing our names early on when we were trying to establish our brands. So the names that I went under were Adriana, Adriannaa, because at the time they went in alphabetical order with ranking. So of course, started with an A, ended with a lot of A's, and then after that there was a deluge. There was just a flood of women that came in with that name. So I changed it to Tuesday Taylor, like Tuesday is in Monday, Tuesday, and then Taylor, Taylor. And then eventually my husband made up the Violatrix, which I don't even like, but it was so, everybody else loved it and it was so different. I used it and I'm still using it. But there you go. There's the challenge for anybody that wants to find my old pics, and you'll know me immediately. Because at least my facial grid is still the same, if the rest of it has been completely reorganized and facially balanced. I did facial balancing. My nose was too big, my chin was too big, so I got everything balanced. So this is pre-facial balancing. So if you find it, God forbid, don't even tell me tell me in the comments if you find it, and if you find anything really raunchy, I apologize now. Um, and that brings us to a close on the cyber stalking danger piece of this episode. I should also mention that if if you're using, no matter what platform you're using, especially if you're using Nightflirt, if a client ever sends you a link to a porn that they want enacted, they want to talk about, whatever the link is, and it's to porn, never click it. Do not ever trust a link. Tell them to send you a screen recording that's very clearly a screen recording, or they can tell you how to Google it, but never open a link, period, the end. And this is really important because customers often do send links. I just found it. It was, in fact, the creatrix who had asked me this question about how to stay safe and cyber doming, cyber stalking. She also asks me what sites are safe to use. So I'm first and foremost going to say my own site, Night Flirt. But again, because I mention it all the time, it's getting a flood of women, and unfortunately, it's not getting a flood of new clients. So we're all scraping for business, and things are down because there's too many girls and not enough clients. So that's Night Flirt. Also, Night Flirt doesn't work for a lot of people. It works great for me because I've been on it, for 20 years. But some of the sites that I've worked on over the years and I'm currently on, let's go. Triple X Cam Babes. I used to make equally, if not more, money on Triple X Cam Babes. I I'm not on there any longer, but that was one of them. Clips for Sale and all of the clips sites are fantastic for making money. I am a moron with those sites. I don't know how to work them. I've tried endlessly over the years and I'm not on any of those, but they are phenomenal sites, especially if you have a niche like feet, like lactating pregnant woman, just because we were just talking about it. Or I have one girl who's a coaching student who's a witch in New England. That's her thing. She's a witch. Or another girl who's like a hypnosis expert. And you have to be careful because hypnosis is not acceptable on many sites. It's not acceptable on Night Flirt anymore. It's a violation of TOS, terms of service. So the clip sites are especially powerful and great revenue generators for women with niches. OnlyFans is always going to be great, but you have to remember OnlyFans only works if you are on a site and you are popular and you can drive traffic to OF. OF itself does not advertise you. So you have to understand what's a platform and what's an app, or well, there's no adult app, but what's a platform, and then what's the aggregator that's going to drive, is it Instagram? Are you on a porn site? Where are you popular on TikTok? You need an aggregator that's going to draw in clients and followers, and then you funnel them, you direct them to your paywall platform. That's how that works. So again, here's the popular sites. Panther, Sext Panther is the one that my clients tell me they've all moved to. They turned me down, said literally told me that I was unethical for applying with them after being so popular on Night Flirt. Can you imagine the rock bottom moment I had when a dirty adult website told me that I was unethical and immoral for trying to join their site? It's crazy. Um, Sexy Jobs is a site that I keep a profile on because 98% of the time you get scammy stuff, but every now and then you get one job offer or one new site that rolls out that's interesting. So I always keep an active profile on Sexy Jobs, and I'm always scrolling the job boards to see the new sites that are being rolled out. So, what a Fin Message, FINMESSAGE, Fin Message is one, but you got to really understand how to work that site and you have to be extremely active or you'll make no money at all. There's Findoms or I Love Findom. There's all sorts of ones like that. I'm on all of those, but I don't really get any business from them. Twitter is just a waste of time. Again, Twitter is an aggregator. It's not a platform for clients. It's an aggregator to drive traffic. But I don't really use it at all. And they just banned someone hacked my Twitter account and posted something. I don't even know what they posted. And my Twitter is now suspended indefinitely. So I have a new one, which is Saint to Siren on Twitter. And then the other site that I was going to mention to you is Chatterbait. I not only hear that Chatterbait is amazing for women, but a lot of the men that I know in the industry are using Chatterbait. But there you're live streaming and you're gaining an audience type of thing. So that's Chatterbait. And all you have to do is Google. And what you want to do, and this is for the women following me, my students, coaching students, my mentorship students, when you get all ready, if you're doing cam or you're just doing phone, and you log into your computer, log into your platform to accept calls, you want to have 4 to 5 windows open on your desktop computer or your laptop with all of the different platforms that you're on. You're not going to make any money. You will not make money if you are sitting like a sitting duck on one platform waiting for the phone to ring. You have to be on 4 to 5 different platforms, have all the windows up and open, and you're just juggling back and forth. You're creating traffic, you're talking, you're chatting, and you're constantly updating your photos or your audio files or your videos or whatever your content is, you're updating it and you are just plastering it on those sites. There's a very, very small memory span of the average adult porn user is very short, very small. So you have to constantly be updating your content and splashing it everywhere. Now make sure it's good. Don't put out subpar content. It's your content is your storefront. And just remember that. Take it seriously. Take a day, a couple days a week, weekend, whatever it is per month, and dedicate it to your content. I do have some exciting stuff coming up. I had put an ad on Craigslist asking for, oh, you guys love this story. I put an ad on Craigslist asking for guests on my podcast. I wanted adult sex workers, female. Of course, I got every guy that's in like those dirty strip shows or dirty Mike Down Under. I don't remember what it's called, but I got every guy under the sun who's doing those shows asked if they could be a guest on my podcast. I was like, no. And then I had 2 really good Findom sex workers, full service escorts that wanted to do the show. And I was like, great. I wrote to each of them separately and I said, let's meet for coffee or cocktails. You choose, my treat. And these were women that had been in the industry a long time and they had something very valuable to bring to my podcast. So, and that's the thing. A lot of women, and especially even my students, want to be guests, but I can't have someone who hasn't been doing this a long time. I need someone to come on who's going to teach me something. So the banter back and forth, you guys will learn something from it. So the first girl, I said to her, okay, what's a good day of the week? What time? Blah, blah, blah. We get the whole thing ironed out. And the last thing she says to me is, oh, you have to come pick me up. I don't have a car. And I'm like, oh my God. So I kind of just was like, all right, I have to fly back east. I'll let you know, I'll be in touch. The next girl says the same thing to me, but she says it in a way that's like, by the way, I live in like a sketchy area. So I let both conversations lapse and I don't think much about it. I'm really busy. And I'm like, well, that's what you get for putting it out on Craigslist. The one girl reaches out to me on Instagram and she's like, you're a fucking bitch. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And this is in a DM. And she says, you're a fucking bitch. You said I could do your show, blah, blah, blah. You promised me all these things. I said, in the effort of transparency, let me let me give this to you clearly because I had just had it at this point. I couldn't find anybody. I was going through all of these emails and I said to her, I offered you free exposure on my podcast. You could plug your services, you could promote and broadcast yourself all you wanted to your heart's desire. I offered you free drinks or cocktails, and I was extremely accommodating with schedule. But the one thing I am not going to do in my very expensive car, the competition series European M2 BMW, into the hood to pick up a full service sex worker whom I do not know. That is where I draw the line. I had to fucking say this to her. And right after I said it, I blocked her because I thought, I don't even want to hear what she's going to say to that. And I realized that sounds egregious and arrogant and assholeish of me, but it was the truth. And the one thing you're always going to get from me is the truth. So don't ever ask me a question if you're not prepared to hear a truthful answer. I probably repel more people than I attract with this quality, but it's how I live my life and it's the truth. So if you guys think I'm a dickhead for not picking up the sex worker, let me know in the comments as well. That should pretty much wrap up everything that I had for episode 9, except for I am super intrigued by this dating app Fieldfeld. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Feeld. It's like, and apparently it's been around for like 4 or 5 years. I only heard about it a couple of months ago from a Dom, and it's like Hinge, but it's Hinge unhinged because although you can't put videos up and it's very glitchy, this site, it's got a lot of privacy. No one is up your ass about the words that you're using. You can put your socials in it as long as you're not, catfishing and trying to draw strictly business. But it's very liberating, this site. But the thing that fucking threw me is not only now do we have pansexual and we have ethically non-monogamous, ENM. Basically, I'm married and I'm cheating, or I'm married and we're both kind of whoring out, whatever. So you got the ENM, you've got the sapiosexuals, people like smart people. You've got the demisexuals. You've got gynosexual. I don't even know what that is. I Somebody tell me what's a gynosexual. And then you've got the bi curious, the bi flexible. But now we have heteroflexible. And I want to end this podcast on telling you, ladies, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. And I know you hear women on TikTok saying this all the time, and you hear gay men on TikTok saying this all the time. I was with your husband. If you think your husband isn't, he is. I am here to tell you that it would appear that there has been a tipping point in the industry, and I'm not exactly certain what it is in society, but men are now out and proud and free. I can't tell you the amount of good looking men, doctors, lawyers, and corporate guys, Wall Street guys, that right there in their profile, heteroflexible, bi curious, like they're just out and proud, like they don't care. People aren't even hiding it anymore. And I don't know what the tipping point was in our industry or in society that kind of changed this. But 4 or 5 years ago, you would have never seen this. And now you have these guys that are basically saying, trans, drop your pants. You got all parts of women and men, bring it on, bend over, stripped out. Like, I can't believe the liberation that's happening. But my point is, I've always said that you'd be shocked to know who my clients actually are that want me to force them to their knees and force buy on them and force them to BBC and all of these things. You cannot believe, because my clients are older. My clients are 50, 60, 70, most of them, many of them. But you're talking about 35 to 45, 50-year-old men that are now full face out on these sites. No, not hiding behind any barrier. Like, I can't believe it. But my ultimate point is, if you think your man does not sit high on the Kinsey scale. You guys know what the Kinsey scale is? You know how the autism is like a spectrum. You've got everything from ADHD all the way up to nonverbal autistic, like Rain Man. And my family, all my family sits basically just below Rain Man in the genius Asperger category, and then there's me on ADHD. But you have the Kinsey scale, which is akin to the Asperger, the autism, I'm sorry, the autism spectrum, disorder spectrum. The Kinsey scale is just how nobody is 100% not gay. So you have like a little bit gay all the way up to extremely gay. And I'm telling you now, your husband, your boyfriend sits on that scale. We all do. You just got to figure out what shade he is. Look it up, Google it. I'm telling you. And to further this point, I called around to a few people that I know, from gay men to, bisexual men to trans women. And all reports are coming back that most men, if not have pursued it, including famous men. You can Google the headlines. I'm not going to call out one of my most favorite actors of all time, got called out for it. But not just famous men, but most men, if not all, are curious, searching, would like to experience it once or have. Don't go hard at your man about this, but do be aware that it's more common than not. And what I'm seeing, the floodgates have just broken. The floodgates have just begun to burst with what we're about to see. I mean, we think it's hard enough as women to try to find boyfriends and husbands now. And I often think to myself, when these guys are on these dating apps and they have open relationship E&M, I'm like, who's your asshole girlfriend or wife that's allowing this? And now I've completely changed from that idea, which is maybe these girls aren't the assholes in letting their husbands play around and do their thing. Maybe these girls are the evolved version of the rest of us who are saying, you're going to do it one way or another. We are animals at our core, right? We're just evolved animals, and they're going to be curious. They're going to do this. I'm going to get the upper hand by telling him he has the freedom to do it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments who you think is right in this situation. Would you be open to your man doing this? Do you date men who have done this or talk about it? Do you let them engage in fantasy play about this? This is where my intellectual kink and fetish and domination, submission, lifestyle curiosity kills the cat. This is where I deep dive. I am so utterly fascinated by what makes people tick. Straight, gay, bi, whatever it is. I want to understand. My hairdresser just showed me the Instagram of a woman that's been coming to her recently for hair extensions. And she said, look at her Instagram. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. She's 26. She just had like full everything done, even a voice change. And then she swipes and shows me the girl's picture previously. She was a man, and she was so fucking hot. I'm crushing on this picture, like the six pack, the pecs, dark skin. I was like, she's Viviana something. I don't know. I'm following her on Instagram. You can see, but she's so fucking beautiful. But she was hot as a man, and it gave me pause. I was like, what? And now that you see this beautiful woman who looked like that as a man, but may or may not still have a penis, like it's so confusing. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and if you'd like more on this topic, because this is really what I want to deep dive. And what I was going to say when I interrupted myself was that now I'm talking to guests to bring on who are going to deep dive these topics as well as give tea and gossip about what's going on in major cities. So that's kind of where I'm going to take my first guest situation, which hopefully will be the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. I love all your comments and feedback, and let me know what you want for next episode aside from guests, because I'm working on that. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and an amazing new year for all of you, all of us together. I love my team. I love my family. Thank you for being here. See you next time, episode 10.